Welcome to my Spring Boot basic video tutorial. Spring Boot is a framework that supports three languages for development, that is Java, Kotlin, and Groovy. We can say Spring Boot is the modern way of developing Spring applications. But Spring Boot has made our life easier for developing production-ready applications than Spring. This is my outline of the presentation. Environment setup. Create a Hello World API connected to MySQL database, and create user API CRUD operations with the above API, and change that API to connect to a MongoDB. Environment setup. Even though this framework Spring Boot supports three languages, I'm going to show you the development using Java. For that, first we have to install Java, and we can use Gradle or Maven for as the building tool. I'm using Maven, and we need a IDE that supports for Java. We can use Spring Tool Suite or IntelliJ IDEA. I'm using IntelliJ IDEA. When using IntelliJ IDEA, there are two versions: Ultimate version and Community version. Community version is enough for our development. One, create Hello World API connected to MySQL database. This is the getting started guide in Spring Boot, and there are some instructions given that we have to follow. After the environment is set up, we can just use Spring Initializer. The link is here for getting Spring Initializer. This is the URL of Spring Initializer, start.spring.io, and we have to fill the things that to generate initial code using the Spring Initializer. The language, we have more option to select if you want. Maven project, Java, and here Spring Boot version. I will use 2.1.4. Here, since this is a Maven project, we have to give a group ID and artifact ID. Group ID is like a package name. Artifact ID is like the project name. I will use com. Exit technologies. This is Spring Boot. Basic. Like this. Normally, for the group ID or package names, use the domain name in reverse order, and like this. We can give a description as you want, and and we can have the option to whether we need to create a Java or WAV file or Java zip file or web zip file. I'm using Java, and we have the option to select the Java version we need. uh, by default it is Java 8. I will keep it as Java 8. If you have installed uh, latest version of Java, we can select version for supports everyone. I will keep as Java 8, and then we have to select dependencies. I will select minimum uh, dependencies we need. I'm going to create a web API. Therefore, we have to select web dependency. It is selected, and I'm going to use Java Persistence API, and I'm going to use a MySQL database. Then we have to generate the project. Then it will be downloaded as a zip file. So downloads Spring Basic. The downloaded zip file here. I have to extract it. I have extracted it. Now I need to go to the IntelliJ IDEA. This is IntelliJ IDEA. I'm using community version. In file menu, we have option new project from existing sources. Then we have to select the folder. My one is Spring Boot Basic. Here we have to select Maven, since I'm going to develop using Maven. Keep these settings as in the default. Uh, my computer has the Java version 10. Since I have selected previously for Java 8, it supports for Java 10 as well. It is downloading the dependencies. Now we have a project structure like this. Spring Boot Basic, and that we have source folder and main folder for in source code, and test packages for unit testing. I'm not going to write unit testing in this basic course. Inside this Java folder, we have this package, and this is basic structure of Maven project actually. And we have a class called Spring Boot Basic Application.java. Java, and it has the main method. This is the main starting point of this Spring Boot application. Uh, Using a command line, using integrated terminal in IntelliJ IDEA, we can run this Spring Boot application, or we can run the main method directly. I will try that uh, as well in later. First, I will use terminal command line command to run this application. This mvn spring dash boot colon run. It's getting errors. This error comes because uh, of we are not using database. I have included the dependency for MySQL database, and I'm not connected to MySQL database. Therefore, we have to create MySQL database and connect it to a MySQL database. For that, we should have a MySQL database. I have locally installed MySQL, and I have created database. I am using MySQL Workbench to connect to that database. To see the database, you can use any tool for that. This is the database I'm going to use. It is an empty database. It does not have any table, view, or functions. Our application will generate the tables that we want. Uh, it can be configured there. And we have a inside src main and resources. We have a file application.properties. Currently the file is empty. We have to add some coding there. Spring.jpa.hibernate ddl auto create. Here we can use create, update. Create means it will create tables automatically when the application is running. Initially we have to use create. Later we can use update without creating tables, and the, it will be using the tables. And here we have to give the data source URL JDBC MySQL. I'm using localhost database, and the database name is demo, and I have a user called demo, and the password is 126. You have to enter your connection URL and user and password here for the database. Now we will check again whether the applications run properly. Again, I will run the previous command mvn spring boot run command. Now you can see that no errors, and Tomcat is started on 8080 port. This is an embedded Tomcat. You don't need to install Tomcat into a computer. Uh, with the Spring Boot, there is an embedded Tomcat. It will be using it. And if you check the localhost 8080, we can see our application is running. Still, it is getting a white label error because no route is created for this root path, and it's try to access the error page, but no error pages also defined. Therefore, it will give this white label error page. Now we will create our welcome controller class. Inside Java, inside this package, I will create a new package called controller. So this controller package, I will create a class with the name welcome control. For making this a Spring Boot controller, I have this REST controller annotation. So we have to import this REST controller annotation. For that IntelliJ IDEA, we can use Alt Enter command. Then we can import it. REST control, and we have to map with this base URL. I'm going to map it with the root path. Therefore, path is slash just the root path. We have to import this annotation as well. Inside this controller class, we need to create a method to map with the requests. For this, I'm going to create a method that returns a string. I will call this method as say hello. Then this need to be returned a string. I will return hello world here. I have added a mapping for the controller. We need to add a mapping for the method as well. It means if you want to add another path rather than the root path, we need to edit the request mapping. We have to add the path as well, but I'm not going to append paths. Therefore, we have to mention only the request type. should import it. But yeah, I'm I have in the REST APIs we have get the post put patch like a request. I'm just using get request for this endpoint. It is configured here. If we didn't mention it here, it will uh, a response for any request coming. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, we can run this application like this. Just run spin boot main. Check whether it is still running. This is will stop with the previous one. I just enter Control C and yes, it will stop. Now I'm going to run this from here. Run spin boot main. We can see it is running in edit port. Just refresh this page. Yes, now we can see hello world message. We have successfully completed our first step, create hello world API connected to MySQL database.